Hi you guys, so today we're going to be reading Pumpkin's story. I don't know how many chapters I'm going to do, but this is what it looks like. So it's going to be like an audio read, and yeah, and it's by Doug Audrey and Andress. So let's first start off by so this is the true story of one little girl who runs two times. Let's start reading back first. As seen on Zelda, when Pumpkin, the miniature horse, was born, there was something wrong with her legs. It hurt the little horse to walk or even stand. She needed help and fast. Luckily, Pumpkin and her mom were rescued by Twist of Fate Farm and Sanctuary. The sanctuary's founders knew that Pumpkin was special. She would do whatever it took to help her. Pumpkin got lots of love from her animal and human families, plus the support of thousands of online fans from across the globe. Together they helped Pumpkin beat the odds and learn to run. I got this from the Scholastic Book Fair in 6th grade. And it was $6.90. It was a pretty good deal. So let's start off with the chapter. Late one night, the mother was exhausted, but so submitted to her new baby. The fowl had a shiny brown coat and a fluffy white tail and mane, just like her mother's. The new mama stood up and licked the little foal with her coarse tongue. The foal's bright eyes blinked as she glanced around the dark barn in awe of her new surroundings. Their owner looked on nervously. He had never cared for horses before, and he didn't really know what to do. Luckily, a horse can give birth without any help, and foals can stand and walk on their own early as an hour after being born. There wasn't much for the owner to do now but watch, but he couldn't help but think that something didn't look right. Ashley's phone dinged. It was another message. It felt as though her phone never stopped calling for her attention. If it wasn't a Facebook message, then it was an email or a call or a text message. And they all said the same thing: help. Ashley couldn't help everyone. She already had so many to take care of. There were Colton, Lucy, Tucker, and Bune, Alistair and Willow, Austin, Iana, Phoenix Door, and those were just the horses. Elijah and Elliot were the pigs. There were the goats, Chip, Charlotte, and Gingerbread, and of course Brittany, Lynn, their best cow friend, and William, the lamb. The sweet donkey family of Blossom, Charlotte, and Cherry. there were so many more, and last but not least, there was her own son, Deacon, let's just say that, who was only 3 years old. Ashley was running out of room at Twist of Fate Farm and Sanctuary. 5 years ago, she had rescued 2 horses. She didn't realize it at the time, but that was the first step in opening her animal sanctuary. Word of her new sanctuary spread fast among her animal-loving friends. Since then, she had saved more than 50 horses and another 50 farm animals from bad homes and dangerous situations. Ashley's property was a safe place for animals to live. It was like a retirement home, but with furry residents. Once an animal stepped foot into her sanctuary, it didn't have to live in fear or pain anymore. Finding a bigger location with rolling acres for the animals to run and roam, plus new facilities to help care for them. Was her dream a dream that would cost a lot of money? And she already had to ask others for money every time she brought a new rescue to the sanctuary. The bills seemed to be climbing higher and higher with each day that went by. Ashley's phone dinged again. This sanctuary business was even harder than she ever imagined it would be. She tucked her long brown hair behind her ear. As long as there was another animal out there in need, she would answer. She picked up her phone. The little foal stood up and walked toward her mom. She was hungry and needed to nurse, but her mom was standing, so she needed to stand, too, if she wanted to eat. She wobbled with each step. Her short legs hurt. She was just a baby and didn't know if this was what walking was supposed to feel like. She looked up at her mom, who gave her a loving lift. Maybe she'd get better at walking soon. Her mom seemed to walk with no problems. Perhaps she just needed more practice. Someday she'd be able to run like the other horses she'd seen. She began to nurse. The little fowl took a few more sips of milk, then stopped eating. That was good enough for now. Her feet were hurting and she wanted to rest. "We need everyone's help right now," Ashley wrote in a new post online. She she start she she started give me a moment. She stared at the images that had been sent to her. A tiny pony, a dwarf pony, was lying on her side in a bed of hay. According to the owner, she was a miniature horse who had been born with dwarfism. Her legs were very short, as all dwarf ponies' legs are, but they didn't look straight. They were bending sideways, just above her hoofs. And that wasn't the worst of it. Because of the bend in her leg, this sweet foal wasn't able to walk correctly with each step, she was stepping on the side of her leg instead of the bottom of her hoof. It was causing her a lot of pain. Luckily, the family who took care of her and her mom knew she needed more help than they could give. That's why they had messaged Ashley. Ashley winced in the picture. Ashley winced. In the photo, the foal looked so helpless, just stuck lying on the bed of hay. Foals should be running around, gaining strength and exploring, not trapped inside. But Ashley did notice something else. The little foal's dark eyes were wide open and full of life. Ashley knew that this animal had a fighting spirit and needed someone to give her a chance to survive. She continued to write with the same passion and urgency she felt every time an animal needed to be rescued. We are taking in this 3-week-old foal and her mama. The baby was born with deformed legs and she needs to go to the vet ASAP so they can take x-rays of her leg and determine the best way to go about helping her. She added information on how to donate money, then click share. "Oh my gosh, she's so cute," someone posted. "Thank you for all you do," another chimed in. "Donated. Hope it helps," yet another added. Whenever Ashley took in an animal, she posted updates on her social media accounts, asking her supporters who followed her there for help. The cost of food, vet appointments, and medicine or surgeries could add up quickly. Ashley was willing to give her time and efforts of these furry friends, but she couldn't pay for anything herself, yet somehow she always managed to make it work. She took a deep breath, then stepped out from her computer and picked up her car keys. She'd worry about the money part later. Right now, all she could focus on was getting the foal and her mother home. The drive from her sanctuary in Pennsylvania to Ohio would be long, but this baby needed to get to the hospital immediately. Before she could second-guess her decision, Ashley was on the road heading west with the horse trailer. Okay, so that was the first chapter. So right now we're on page 10, right here. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this one has some pictures, like, of the real actual pony. And I'll show them as I'm reading them when I get there. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm only gonna do 2 chapters, so this video isn't too long. Ashley's son, Dakin, crouched down low in the bed of hay. His curly blonde hair hung over his eyes, even though he was only a toddler. Ashley knew he would get along with their new arrival. He always did. He loved animals, especially baby animals. The little foal looked up at the little boy. It was October, so they decided to call her Pumpkin. Pumpkin's mom stayed close even though the door to the pen was closed and it was clear they weren't going to take Pumpkin anyway and anywhere. She was just being protective. Deacon patted the mini horse gently. Her coat was bushy and soft. "She's a unicorn," Deacon said. "Baby pumpkin, baby pumpkin unicorn." Ashley laughed. She had to admit that was a nickname that would probably stick around. Deacon was used to being around horses, but this dwarf miniature horse and her mother must have looked downright magical to him. Miniature horses are less than 34 inches tall, which is less than 3 feet, and dwarf ponies are even smaller. Deacon already toed over Pumpkin. It was clear that Pumpkin was very different from the other horses at the sanctuary, but Deacon didn't see her as a different in a bad way. He saw her as a different in a positive way. That's why he thought she was a unicorn. He truly believed she was. Others thought Pumpkin was broken, but Deacon thought she was a perfect, fantastical creature. Pumpkin's first month had not been easy. After picking up the horse in Ohio, Ashley drove Pumpkin and her mom directly to the animal hospital near Twist of Fate Farm and Sanctuary. Pumpkin needed immediate attention. They were lucky that Penn Vets New Bolton Center was so close. The hospital was internationally known for taking care of large animals like horses, pigs, and sheep. The hospital rested on 700 green acres of and looked more like a farm than a hospital, which was not surprising since they helped farm animals. They cared for more than 5,000 creatures each year. The veterinarians went to work on Pumpkin right away by taking x-rays and then adding little splints to the bottom of her legs. That way her hooves would be propped up into the right position. It was a temporary fix, but it let her walk with a little less pain. At the same time, Pumpkin came down with pneumonia, which is an infection of her lungs. It made it hard for her to breathe. It was really scary. Ashley was afraid they'd lose Pumpkin before they could even help her, but the little fool pushed through, and now after a 30-day stay at the hospital, she was home. She wasn't even 2 months old yet, but she had been through a lot. While Deacon continued to pet Pumpkin lovingly, Ashley locked eyes with the mother horse. She had decided to call her Thea as a tribute to a border collie she loved named Theo. Theo had been her friend Nicole's dog. He was a very special pet, but he had recently passed away. Thea is like, what is this little human doing to my baby? Ashley said, as a mother, I get it. People were pounding and poking Pumpkin constantly. Thea didn't like it. Mothers always want to protect their babies, especially from bigger creatures, in this case humans. But there was no escaping it. Ever since the two horses arrived, they had been stuck in a stall. There was no grazing and no going outside, but that was the normal process for rescue's first few days at the sanctuary. They had to stay separate from the other animals for a short time while they adjust to their new home. And while Ashley made sure they stayed healthy, unfortunately, in Pumpkin's case, she had to stay inside for other reasons too. I feel like the mean mom, Ashley said to Pumpkin. It hurts my heart a little bit. She wished Pumpkin could run outside and play with the other animals, but the veterinarian said staying inside would be safest for the little foal until they decided how they could best help her. Pumpkin didn't really know what she was, but she liked it so far. It looked kind of like the last place, except this place seemed better. There were a pond and green fields. There was also a big cream-colored house with a long driveway and a cozy pen filled with hay, which was where they were now. Her mom was here as always, but there were a lot more people. They came to say hi to Pumpkin, and they touched her legs. They looked concerned like the last people, but they also smiled and laughed. She had the feeling that they were trying to help the nice lady and carried her all the way from the car to the stable. That had been really helpful because then her legs didn't hurt. And her feet didn't hurt. Although she liked it here, she wished she could go outside and look around. She could hear other animals. Wouldn't it be fun to meet them? She wondered what their names were and what they looked like, but all she could see were the walls of her pen and whatever decided to visit her that day. Right now it was a little boy. He was Pumpkin-sized, and he had wild hair like hers. Pumpkin liked him. He laughed a lot. She licked his boots. Baby pumpkins eating my boots, Deacon said. The foal was touching the rubber boot with her nose, and Deacon sat in the hay with his legs stretched out in front of him. Ashley loved seeing Deacon and Pumpkin nuzzle together. He didn't seem to mind the kisses Pumpkin was giving him. He wasn't scared at all. They're both so sweet and innocent, and I think they just kinda get each other, she thought. Deacon had always been great with animals, actually more than great. He was like an animal whisperer. He could pick up his orange and white pet cat, Milo, put him on his lap and rock him and sing to him. No one else could do that. When Elliot, the little piglet, joined the sanctuary, Deacon was the only human who could get near him. After they saved him from an execution, he was terrified of people. The tiny piglet would huddle in the corner of his pen. Anytime someone came near, even if they were bringing food. But Deacon wanted to be his friend so badly. He told Ashley every day that he wanted to kiss the piglet. When he visited Elliot in his pen, Deacon crouched down low and talked softly to help the piglet feel safe. Finally, one day, Deacon's wish came true. He gave Elliot a kiss. "I did it!" he cried out while jumping up and down. It wasn't long before he and Elliot were splashing in the mud together outside. But Ashley's favorite story was about a lamb named William. William was just 2 days old when they rescued him. He was so young that he needed to live in the house with Ashley and Deacon. And he needed to be bottle fed. As soon as Deacon saw his mom feeding William, he wanted to do it. It was hilarious to see the toddler holding a bottle tightly with both hands while the hungry lamb sucked as hard as he could. Deacon could barely hang on. They soon became the best of friends and trotted around the sanctuary together. Every time William had to go outside, Deacon would cry. He wanted the little lamb to live in their house forever. He has a huge heart for a little kid, Ashley thought. That was why she couldn't stop taking pictures of Deacon with the rescue animals. She shared pictures, videos, and stories with her supporters about how easily Deacon made friends with the babies on the farm. Nothing melted her heart like the way her son adored the animals, and they adored him right back. And the sanctuary supporters loved seeing how sweetly they all got along. Caring for the animals was a full-time job, as was being a mom to Deacon. But Ashley always had fundraising in the back of her mind. The sanctuary was a non-profit organization, which meant it relied on donations from other people. The donations helped pay for food for the animals and for bills from the vet who gave checkups and provided medicine if an animal got sick. Without their help, her business would have to shut down. And then where would these animals go? Pumpkin, go outside, please, Deacon asked. He wanted to run in the pasture with Pumpkin as he did with Wilbur. Not right now, Ashley said, but she wasn't sure if Pumpkin would ever be able to do that. When Ashley saw her for the first time, she couldn't believe how badly all 4 of her legs were affected. And when she viewed the x-rays at the animal hospital, she knew for sure Pumpkin's situation was bleak. It was as if her ankles were twisting with each step she took. The miniature horse stood up, but she trembled with each step. It made Ashley nervous every time she tried to move. She wasn't sure how she was going to help this young foal. Right now, Pumpkin seemed fragile. They hoped the splints would help her legs straighten on their own, but that didn't seem to be happening so far. What would she tell Deacon? He'd be really disappointed if he could never play outside with his new friend. Ashley had rescued animals long enough to know that not every story had a happy ending. Sometimes animals couldn't be completely healed, and it was Ashley's job to simply make them as comfortable as possible. Other times, animals were injured so badly or had such terrible diseases that they were in too much pain to go on living. Even if she could help them for only a short time, it was worth it. She helped those animals pass peacefully and with dignity, surrounded by people who loved them. But no matter the sickness or injuries, Ashley would be there. Their lives mattered too. So did Pumpkin. Okay, that's all I'm gonna read for today. I'll most likely read chapter 3 whenever I feel like it. And again, this is called Pumpkin's Story by Amber Address. This is what it looks like. So yeah, I will see you guys when I see you.